guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. So I've been looking through your comments over the last couple of days and I've really been seeing certain topics and themes that you actually want to hear about here on this channel. So this channel is dedicated to psychological well-being practitioners, whether you're a trainee, whether you're qualified, or whether you're just a new kind of student in psychology that's either just kind of taken on an undergrad or you're coming towards the end of that, or you're kind of in between and you're not too sure really where you want to go. And I guess this channel is really here to support you with thinking about your different options and perhaps help you make some informed choices based on my own experiences and what I've been through. So I hope to help you with your choices, and if you've got any specific topics that you want to hear about, you can always comment in the comment section below, or you can head over to the discussions page, which is, if you look on the tabs where it says video, playlists, about, there's also a discussion section there. So if you go there and write down all the topics that you want to hear about on this channel, I'll try to cover them as much as I possibly can in the next following videos. So today's video is going to be based upon our appearance and our personality and just about what's accepted in the field of psychology. So one of the things that I've really noticed in psychology is that a lot of people are rushing to get onto the clinical psychology course because, you know, it's funded and it really helps to get onto that kind of ladder where you're able to get the training and you're getting paid at the same time and really work your way up that kind of psychology route. And of course it's going to be fierce and competitive if that is the case, and there's only one type of doctorate that really does that. Well, there's actually two. There's a forensic psychology and there's the clinical psychology that offer the funding. But when you look at counselling psychology and other areas of psychology, they don't necessarily offer you the funding, which means that people have to pay nearly 20 to 25, even above that actually. Some people have to pay like £45,000 to actually do a doctorate in like forensic psychology or clinical psychology, which means that there's actually a huge gap between the people who are able to afford to do that versus the people who aren't. So it's almost like this profession, if you can afford to do it, if you're like elitist, or if you are wealthy, or if you have somebody that can help you out and pay for that, then you can essentially become a psychologist on your own accord. But if you don't have those fundings and you don't have that opportunity to pay for it yourself, and you don't want to get into that debt, so fair, then it's almost like you have to wait for that chance to be able to apply and get on. And you know, when it's a doctorate, it's year after year after year after year. So I think this is one of the reasons why the trainee PWP role has become really, really competitive and fierce as well, because it's a year's training and it doesn't require you to apply year after year after year. There are different cohorts that you can find within the same year that can provide you the opportunity to get onto the training. And that makes it a little less difficult to get on as opposed to like the clinical doctorate or even the high intensity training, because there are more times during the year, based on what universities you go with or services you go with, that you can actually apply for these roles. A lot of the times as well, there are some services that will employ you as an assistant PWP or an admin staff or a healthcare worker staff, and then kind of push you towards like an assistant psychologist post or like a trainee PWP post if you actually work in IAP. So, you know, it isn't just about having to get straight onto the training. Sometimes you have to do the work before it in terms of applying for assistant PWP roles or admin based IAP roles or support worker roles where there's IAP friendly kind of practices, where there's IAPT practices being shown and presented and taken through with the clients. So these are the kinds of ways that people kind of get into the world of IAPT before even getting onto the training. Other times when students come to me and speak to me about getting onto the training, they always ask me whether they are good enough and whether they have the right experience and whether they've got the right appearance and whether they've got the right personality. And there was a girl that was asking me about tattoos and piercings, and I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. I know that I've covered a lot there and I've kind of digressed as well, which is totally fine, but I guess it's helpful to know these things. But just in terms of tattoos and piercings, so when you're applying within a professional field, I think that there's always been this misconception that you have to be looking a certain way, you have to be acting a certain way, you have to be professional and formal with that kind of suit white shirt, you know, very sort of uptight and like square bodied kind of like appearance, to be able to appear serious in front of a panel or a, you know, professional body that you're trying to kind of appeal to, so then they would actually employ you or offer you training. The truth is when you're just looking at one type of employee or one type of stereotype, you're not really looking at diversity. And in psychology, especially with mental health, and as it's becoming wider and wider in terms of like breaking down stigma and just in terms of awareness and how normal it is to experience mental health, I think that's also bringing to light how much diversity mental health actually involves. And so when you think about tattoos and piercings, I think it's important to think about what you're comfortable with wearing when you are displaying yourself in front of, you know, patients or clients. I guess when you're thinking about tattoos and piercings especially, you have to be careful if you were working in like a secure unit where that could be a risk to others or even to yourself. You know, sometimes patients can lash out or they can have challenging behaviors if you're in like a secure unit with people with severe mental health difficulties and challenging behaviors. So the purpose of removing any piercings or, you know, like dangly jewelry or things like that, it's not kind of permitted in those hospital environments or in those inpatient ward environments for the purpose of safety. But when it comes to public health services and looking at being yourself, yes, I guess there are certain rules about having a certain level of professionalism. For example, they don't always permit jeans and, you know, certain trousers that are like really tight or I guess from a certain material to be worn within the work. I guess it might be that people get distracted by these kinds of things, and maybe that's the reason why most employers don't promote it. But I think that over the years, as I've been in IAPT and mental health, and as I was coming out of it, I did see a lot more of a liberating and lenient way of kind of presenting your professionalism. So, you know, people would have tattoos and piercings. People would wear pink trousers to work, and they would have more of their own personality and sense of style and fashion within the things that they wear. You know, there are ways that you can be stylish and professional at the same time and not be, you know, offensive or, I guess, you know, influencing somebody in a way that isn't helpful. You know, there's certain t-shirts and logos and brandings that are not permitted in professional workforces. For example, you know, if you were like a Manchester United football fan and that was like, you know, your main thing and that's strong to you and your heart and you were like, yes, 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 go football, go Manchester United, they wouldn't really permit that to be worn within, or something of that nature to be worn within the environment that you're working in. Not because they're trying to push your personality down and not allow freedom of expression or freedom of, you know, being yourself. It's more that sometimes people that come in for mental health reasons or for support don't really want to see that. That's not what they're here for. And that can sometimes be quite triggering to a lot of people. So it's not about constantly like, you know, trying to walk on eggshells or manage every single situation, but I guess it talks about, I guess it's about common sense and really thinking about, actually, okay, so it seems like, you know, this could be a distraction or it might be offensive to a lot of people, a lot of different people out there. So actually, would it be helpful to wear something that's more neutral, that wouldn't be you know, influencing a lot of the conversations that you might have in therapy? So if you're going into therapy, you're going to focus on yourself, and therefore if you've got like a big Manchester United fan t-shirt on for a therapy session, it might be that that then influences that session or influences how that person feels about their therapist, because not everybody can think outside of the box. Not everybody can look through that Manchester United t-shirt and see you for the therapist that you are. So when you're working in mental health, and if you've got like differences or unique kind of things about your appearance that you feel might be offensive, it's not for the point of it being offensive to other people or for you to dismiss or I guess disregard your personality. It's more about being able to hold a space for the person that you're working with. And sometimes that means that you have to be aware or just be conscious of the environment that you're creating. And that's why certain things that we might wear or the way that we present in a professional environment like mental health is really, really important. But saying that, you know, if you want to see how therapists use their unique qualities and their style and their presence to really showcase themselves in the field of mental health and do it in a really great way, I'm going to link a couple of therapists that I know that have tattoos, piercings, a unique sense of style in the description box below, so you can have a look at them and really resonate with them and see how you can find that kind of balance of professionalism with your unique qualities in terms of your appearance, and how you're able to, you know, bring it to the therapy environment or the mental health environment, but in a way that's helpful, as opposed to in a way where, you know, we would be offensive or we would, you know, influence somebody in a way that isn't helpful. Just going back to diversity and interviewing, I guess it's the same kind of situation when you go to an interview, that you still want to show your personality, you still want to showcase your skills. And if you are constantly thinking about your appearance and your things, you know, whether they are piercings or tattoos or other things that you might have, or a certain type of hairstyle that you love to wear, you know, if we focus on that, ultimately, if we're going into that interview room, we're taking ourselves away from our true value and what we actually have to offer within that role. So not everybody is going to be everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody is going to fit in with the people that they interview with, or where it is that their dream place might be to work. And this is what's important, is when you're going into an interview room and you're thinking about these things, you know, it can really be important for you to assess, you know, when I was in that room having that interview, did I feel comfortable with these people? Did they make me feel comfortable about my differences, or were they pointing them out? Were they looking at them? Were they feeling like, was it making me feel really uncomfortable about just being there? Because that can give you a real sense of, you know, what you feel comfortable with and where you're happy to work in. Because at the end of the day, that panel member are the people that you're going to be working with. So if you're spending most of your time working with these people, you want to feel comfortable with them at the least in the interview room. And then obviously that can be built upon in the actual environment when you go in there and you work with people on a one-to-one basis, or in a group basis, or, you know, within team meetings and within kind of daily kind of practices. That is what you want to aim for, is a place where you feel comfortable. Because a lot of people do focus on this, like, glamorization of a job role without actually knowing what kind of people there are working there, the diversity, like, involvement that they have in there, in terms of like how diverse they are as a service, how inclusive they are as a service, how open they are to different topics around diversity, whether it's LGBT, whether it's BAME, whether it's learning dis, whether it's long-term health conditions, whether it's different age groups, different ethnicities. You know, these are the kinds of things, if they are important to you, look at these things when you're going into an environment to interview or to work in. If these things are important to you and you want to fit in there, I guess we can't always fit in everywhere, and that's what makes us all unique, is that if we did fit in everywhere, we'd all be the same, we'd all be robots. So I think the question about, should I be worried about, you know, my tattoos, my piercings, my diversity when I'm going and looking for a psychology job, I guess the way that I would look at it is, well, actually, can I find somewhere that accepts me for who I am, that looks at my diversity, my uniqueness, my tattoos, my piercings, and sees them as ways to resonate with other clients that have tattoos and piercings, that actually tattoos and piercings, or you know, wearing certain t-shirts or having a certain sense of style isn't a way to discriminate, isn't something that people will single me out for. And that's the kind of way that I would look at it, as opposed to, oh my god, I need to be a certain way in order to appeal to people in the psychology field. Yes, there's a level of professionalism that everybody needs to uphold, because at the end of the day, therapy, being a therapist, being a mental health practitioner, being in the world of psychology is less about you and more about the people that you're helping. Although you are very important, and your self-care and your well-being and all of that is very, very important, but you are essentially holding a space and creating a space for people who may be in more need than you. So that's the way that I would look at it, is how does my uniqueness, my ability to be different, my ability to have these differences bring more value and interest to different fields? And actually, fields in psychology, and actually how can I demonstrate that within my interviews and within my applications, and when I'm sitting there in front of someone who might seem a bit unsure about me, but I know that I'm sure that I want to work there, how can I display that? You know, how can I make a joke about it? How can I, if I want to make a joke about it, not that it is a joke. I'm trying to be PC about everything right now, but I think that's the thing, is like sometimes even just sitting here doing this video, I'm very much aware of my feelings about not wanting to offend someone, and making sure that we are all able to be comfortable with who we are and how we want to be. But also we have to acknowledge that there are boundaries that have to be put in place to be able to create safe spaces and comfortable spaces for the people that access those mental health services. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. It was a bit of a different topic than I typically talk about, but I hope that it's been helpful for those of you that have been worrying about your appearance, who you are, whether you're good enough, whether you're able to bring something new because based on your appearance and what you have or don't have. You know, make it about how you are different and how you can bring something different and new and exciting and fresh to a service that may not be very well informed about your differences, whatever they may be. So I hope you found this helpful. If you love this video, please give it a like, thumbs up, because that really helps. So please subscribe to my video, because every subscription helps, and I'm really, really appreciative of every single subscriber that is here, because it makes such a difference for me to connect with you guys and really hear about what you want to hear about in my videos. And yeah, just connect with me, and always feel free to send me an email at fatima@psychandstrength.com, where you can share any of your personal ideas, and yeah, we can have a chat to see, you know, what more content I can put out there. Anyway, have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.